Yeah, the wrong file.
Alex, give me the heads up, okay?
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Are you? Okay. You going? Is that one page? Oh, you found it?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger, Chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, October 19th, 2022, and the special meeting of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission being conducted in the Shelton City Hall Auditorium via Zoom and through a phone link is hereby called to order at 6:02 p.m. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite everyone participating remotely to do the same. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I'll start off with a roll call of the commission, and please verbally indicate you are present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Commissioner Parkins?
Present.
Commissioner Motto?
Here.
Commissioner Lascos?
Present.
Senate Commissioner Onofrio?
Present.
Mr. Panico, our consultant? Is he? Okay, I'll ask for him again. Ms. Castro, our assistant?
Present.
P and Z administrator? Okay, myself, Commissioner Harger. Ms. Fernassos, our recording secretary?
Present.
Charbonneau, our stenographer?
Present.
And Mr. Panico? Our
Present.
you. For the record, Commissioners Tiki, Usel are not available tonight, as well as Mr. Nappy. Alternate Commissioner Onofrio, you being seated for Commissioner Tiki. And a couple points just before continuing with tonight's agenda. Ms. Castro is a Zoom meeting host. While commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, commissioners are asked that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking to make sure our recording secretary and our stenographer are clear as to who is speaking. And I'd also like to recognize that Corporation Counsel Francis Titoso joined us. I'd like to share the public hearing protocol, as one of our agenda items is for the opening of a public hearing. And in the case of two others, comments from the public are permitted when new material is submitted before the close of the public hearing. Ms. Castro will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting. If written comments were received, they will be read in the record. The applicant and or his associates will make their presentation. The commission can ask questions during the presentation or at its conclusion. The applicant and or associates can answer commission questions at the time they're presented or at the conclusion of the presentation. Public will then be recognized to comment on the application. The applicant's attorney and or associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public after the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak. If the commission feels further information is needed from the applicant, the chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. If a public hearing remains open, the commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. If the commission feels the applicant and or associates have answered all questions, have addressed all concerns from the commission and or the public, the chair will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. Staff will then schedule a discussion about the application at an upcoming commission meeting, during which time the commission will be asked by the chair on how it wants to proceed. At the point in each public hearing when the chair asks for public comment, the chair will recognize those in the auditorium who have listed their name on the sign-up sheet on the side table here. There are 3 sheets They're each identified in the top right-hand corner. So anyone from the public who wishes to, or in this auditorium that would like to make comments during the public portion, you can go up to the table now and sign in. Those members of the public participating remotely via Zoom will be recognized next and will need to use the Zoom raise your hand feature. Those members of the public participating via phone will be recognized then next and will need to dial *9. After you're recognized, please state and spell your name and state your address to assist the recording secretary and stenographer when doing the minutes and transcript of the public hearing. Please present your comments and questions to the commission, not to the applicant and/or his associates. Comments from the public should address specific criteria of the zoning regulations, the merits of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments previously presented. And as the commission has 3 public hearings tonight, speakers will have a 2-minute time limit. Commissioner Parkins will act as our timekeeper. If you are going to speak during the public portion and are in agreement with the previous speaker, all that is necessary is that you say so. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. So the first agenda item is continuation of the public hearing for application 22-15 J&L Enterprise LLC at 60 to 74 Todd Road, Assessors Map 63, lots 19, 21, and 22 on 2.49 acres in an IA3 zone for a PDD and initial development plan approval for a private education association facility with on-site parking. Public hearing for this application opened August 17th, but a revised statement of uses and standards has been submitted by the applicant. So is the applicant or representative here to present that revised statement of uses and standards?
Ben Proto is here, I Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right. Is Mr. Proto, Attorney Proto up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just let me know when he's up. And one other person I'll ask for to comment that he is in attendance is Mr. Rossetti, our Planning and Zoning Administrator.
I am here and will let you know when I have to go to my other meeting.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Rossetti. Okay, so Mr.
evening.
Attorney Proto, you're present?
I am, ma'am.
Good, I see you. Okay, very good. So I have, just identify yourself and then I have a question for you.
Sure. Attorney Benjamin Proto, Proto, 2885 Main Street, Stratford, Connecticut, 06614, representing the applicant J&L Enterprise.
Very good. So as the revised statement of uses and standards only addresses use of the building at 60 Todd Road, is the applicant formally withdrawing the residential component that was included in the original statement of uses and standards?
At this time, yes.
Okay, so you are going formally on the record that the residential is being withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Okay, why don't you go ahead and proceed?
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, you may recall when we were here back in August, we were proposing 60- through 74 Todd Road to 2 parcels to be, which are currently in IA3 zone, to be made into a PDD for the purpose of a educational association facility and a multi-family apartment complex with work amenities and various other amenities. As you may recall, there was a tremendous amount of discussion, particularly involving the PEA, the Private Education Association, that was being proposed for the existing building. The public hearing was continued, and unfortunately, the existing building, which was going to be utilized for the PEA, was not an approved use, and as such, the PEA was unable to begin to conduct classes at the beginning of the school year there. And as of today, are still not utilizing the building for purposes of educational opportunities in that building. We've had a number of discussions, both with staff, I believe with Mr. Panico, with the developer, and the biggest and primary concern of everyone at this point is to get that existing building approved so that the PEA can begin to conduct the classes that they would normally be conducting there. So while we looked at a number of different ways of doing this, including a text amendment for a use in an IA zone, various changes to the application, we thought, based on conversations with staff, that the best way, quickest way, and most convenient and efficient way was to remove the apartment proportion of this and just proceed with the existing building. As you may recall, the existing building was previously used as a daycare facility. It was used that way for well over a decade. The use that is being proposed now is not tremendously dissimilar to a daycare, but we are not going to tell you it's a daycare. It's an educational facility where children will attend, where there will be adult supervision, adult instruction throughout the day. And at the end of the school day, the children who are there will go home, the staff will go home, and the facility will no longer be being used for that for the rest of the day. So we don't see much of a difference in what was there as to what we're proposing to put there. Our goal is to try to get this open as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, to allow the children and staff to get back into their normal school cycle, educational cycle. They've been doing things outside of this building in other locations, some field trip type learning, things along those lines. But obviously we're moving into a much colder, much different season. We need to get the students in there. So based on those conversations, we thought the quickest and easiest way for the commission to consider this was to remove the apartments and just have the commission consider utilizing the PDD solely for this purpose at this point in time. The developer may in the future come back with a proposed use with the apartments in the future, but at this point in time, the goal is to get the educational facility open. There has been some conversation, I know, about losing industrial property or industrial zone, should I say. The reality of these sites is, although they are zoned industrial, there has never been, to our knowledge, an industrial use on any of these zones. In fact, there has been residential on these zones. There has been commercial with the school, the daycare. There's been other commercial businesses located here. There were residentials. Those properties were structures were recently removed. So although it is zoned industrial, the property has never been zoned industrial, and the likelihood that this property would ever be used for an industrial purpose seems highly unlikely given its location and its attributes. So as we move forward, the purpose here is to try to make this as efficient as we can for the commission to approve the Private Education Association use. There will be no additional uses beyond this at the moment. It is not a dissimilar use to what the commission had previously approved as a daycare facility there. There won't be a tremendously larger number of children attending this school. There won't be a substantially larger number of adults. There's more than sufficient parking on the property with, I believe, 31 spaces just on this particular parcel, which will more than sufficiently meet the needs not only of the staff that will be there throughout the day, but parents who will be coming in and out throughout the day to pick up their children. We're not going to try to overcomplicate this for the commission. So we thought that the best way to do this was to take the apartments out, take that entire discussion off the table, and just have the discussion on the Private Education Association in the existing building. No structural changes to the building, no additions to that building, no construction that will be done. There's been some interior work that's been done to make the classrooms more compatible with what they wanted to do. Other than that, Madam Chair, this seems like a relatively simple, straightforward proposal, and we hope the commission can undertake this and approve this very quickly so we can get this Education Association back up and running, get these children back in their classes.
Okay,
I think
I'm
the
just
best thing to
gonna-
do is to answer questions. I know we have Mr. Swift with us. I believe Mr. Rose will be joining us, and I believe Mr. Salem is present in town hall tonight. That's what he told me was going to happen. I'm not sure if he's gotten there yet, but I think the best thing we can do is answer your questions.
First of all, what are the hours of operation?
I believe they would be somewhat normal. I know that we have some folks here who can better answer that question, but I believe they'd be roughly between 7 and 3
Mhm.
at the earliest and probably the latest.
Okay, and is the director of the PEA here this evening as part of your team?
She may be in the audience.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Why don't you, ma'am, step up to the table, pull a chair over, make yourself comfortable, identify yourself for the record. Yeah, you can move it over. And maybe you could help out. Okay, so your name is for the record,
Shawnee Scanlon,
and how do you spelling that?
SHAWNEE,
And the last name again?
SCANIFE.
SCA. Oh, okay. All right, so what, the hours of operation, 7 to 3?
I would say 8 to, we do have an aftercare program too, so 8 to 5:30.
Okay, 8 to 5:30, and number of employees?
6.
6.
Mhm.
Okay, and what's your capacity for, what
We
you're
run
doing?
around 85 students.
okay, it, all at the same time or just,
No,
staged?
yeah, and stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shawnee, why don't you explain exactly how the students come and go, or how parents will come and go, so that the members can better understand how the traffic, not only vehicular, but pedestrian traffic on the site will flow, things you do at the school, at the facility, so they have a better understanding of what we're doing and what we're proposing.
Okay, so we have a window for drop off, so everybody's not dropping off at the same time. So they'll start dropping off by 8 o'clock and come, by 8:30, 9 o'clock-ish, finish up. And then not everybody is there every day. Some people come 4 days, some people come 5, some
This
people.
is Monday through
come
Friday?
2, Monday through Friday, so it varies how many days they're there.
And pickup start at?
Pickups start at, a group of them are picked up from 2:30 up until 3. And then we run the aftercare program, so that will be from anywhere from 4 to 5:30.
Okay. And exactly, is it that parents are doing some educational activities at home and then they come
Yeah.
to your facility for some expanded? What is that exactly?
Correct. So there's different things that we do. There's parents who do academics at home and they come in and do extracurricular activities with us.
Mhm.
And then there's parents who work a lot of the time, so we do academics with them, and then they have Friday as an optional day for extracurriculars and specials.
Okay. All right, very good.
The students don't stay the whole day, though, they come in for a block of time?
Most of them are there the whole day. We
So-
have,
You said 85 students. That's
yeah,
like-
so they're not there every day all at the same time. And then part of those students, they're also a preschool age, so we only have those students for 2.5 hours. So
Okay.
we do blocks of 2.5 hours, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
What
with
is it?
those
Don't forget to
Range.
identify yourselves, people.
Sorry, yeah.
Commissioner Kelly, what is the age?
From 3 up to about 10 right now,
So it's from pre-K to third
to
grade?
4th grade, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other commissioners have any questions?
Commissioner Parkins, what is the, you said aftercare, is that more, it's almost sounds like a daycare to me, like for people that work and, but yet want to homeschool their children.
It's
So I'm
probably
having the-
similar, but structurally, we're different than a daycare.
Structurally, how different?
So we're more like so if you're looking for something that that you're familiar with, it's probably more like a membership club that we are. So we have members, and our members sign a membership application. We have bylaws, we have articles of association. So, yeah, and we contract privately with each other. So it may look similar to a daycare. So we do have parents who work full-time and they come, those are the ones we do the academics with.
Mhm.
And then they need us to have their kids until.
So if they're
a
not
certain
getting their
time.
academic at home, you provide it for
Yes.
them.
So are you
Mhm.
acknowledged or licensed as a state home school provider?
No, mm-mm.
And you're not licensed as a daycare?
No,
So
we're
you're
not.
licensed at all?
We're not licensed as anything, and we don't need to be as a
Commissioner Kelly, do you
membership.
have certified teachers or
Some of them are certified, yeah,
not? Okay. And some aren't.
and some aren't, yeah.
Obviously, you have insurance.
Yes, we have insurance. We have liability. Yes.
liability.
Yes.
What was the other question I was gonna ask?
What about the group academics that, is there something that you have special days that you do special things and have outside speakers or?
Occasionally we do. It's not really a set thing.
Mhm.
It's more Monday through Friday is our academic time. So we'll do reading, math, science,
Mhm.
history with them. And then Fridays we'll have somebody come in and do art for us or somebody come
okay.
in and do, yeah.
Are they taught in groups of their age groups, or is it like one just big one room that?
It's like an age range. It's kind of more, so it's good for the kids because it's based more on their levels. It's not like we do it differently than school. We're not like your first grade, your second
Mhm.
grade, your third grade. It's this is your learning level. So we're
Okay.
meeting them where they're at.
Mhm.
And do the parents have to sign up for like in advance for these hours, or can they just drop their kids off? On a
No, they're
whim,
signed
or
up in advance.
They're signed up in
Yeah.
advance. How far in advance? Like, are they
For
scheduled?
the year,
For the
they're
year,
signed up for
okay,
the
so
year.
they're
Yeah.
scheduled, they're gonna come 4 days a week.
Mhm.
There's no like drop-ins.
Right,
if
yeah,
you
there's
will.
no drop.
So, Commissioner Maddow, so you're not licensed, but is there some kind of state approval in terms of the education standards that you have to meet?
We don't need state approval. Even if we were like a private school, you don't need state approval for,
But
What we're
there's no oversight of academic achievement?
no, there wouldn't be if we were homeschooling, which
Mhm.
most of the families
Right.
are, so we don't need that.
Not what I understood.
Yeah.
About homeschooling.
I thought they had-
No, there's not in Connecticut. They don't have to prove anything. when they're homeschooling.
Is it something about at the end of 12th grade, they would take a test for get their
Yes.
GED?
Correct, yeah,
And that's what
And
the
that's-
assumption is, that all
And that's
along
it.
they've been given the right instruction.
yes.
So, yeah, I was reading a little bit about that.
Commissioner Onofrio, good evening. Attorney Proto mentioned that this isn't dissimilar to the prior use. What would be the difference from the prior use to what you're doing today?
I guess basically the age range and our structure as an education association and not specifically as a daycare. So the daycare probably ended at like kindergarten age where we have up to 4th grade.
I think that's the best way to, the difference is, as Shawnee said, the age group where we would take, if you were taking your child to daycare because they weren't school age eligible yet. Whereas the student or the children or students who come to Shawnee are, for the most part, school age eligible or preschool age eligible. They could attend school if their parents chose not to homeschool and put them in school, as opposed to having what might be an infant up to 2 or 3 years old in daycare or 4 years old in daycare.
Mhm. Yeah, and one of the points I had made back in August, I believe, if you remember, is that my perception of a daycare and the learning that a child may receive there is because they have story time or they're doing colors, so they may learn their colors and they may learn their ABCs and their numbers, but that's not the format. This is a strict format with a curriculum that they follow and sort of expand upon what is being taught at home. So a child may be 4 years old and can go home and recite all his colors and his alphabet and everything like that, but that's not really maybe the main intent. I had questioned a nephew of mine who lives out of state, whose 3 children were homeschooled. And I said, well, what about the social aspects of it? And he says, no, they get together on a quite regular basis. And then that's when they do the big group learning kind of things, or they have the special programs and special speakers that come in that expand upon what we teach them at home. So,
But did you ask, because I know nothing about
Mhm.
Connecticut, so I'm taking you at your word for homeschooling, that there's no requirement, that the state doesn't require some sort of proof that there's a curriculum being taught to these children, that
Not
like,
no,
no requirement for that.
yeah.
I know other states do have it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in Connecticut that homeschools, but I do know people in other states that homeschool, and they have to show a curriculum to the state to show what they're teaching.
Mhm. Are there some kind of curriculum sets that could be purchased or something that's what a parent uses?
We actually use a homeschool curriculum.
There is
for the
such things out
academics
there,
that we provide, Yeah.
So it's not somebody sitting there on a Sunday night
Yeah, we're
saying,
not making.
oh my
stuff
God, what
up
am I gonna do
and-
tomorrow?
Yeah.
How am I gonna
We
teach?
actually use a homeschool
Yeah.
curriculum. when we
There are
do the
things out
academic
there.
part with
Okay,
it.
so there is such a thing as a homeschool curriculum.
There
Who
is,
Yeah.
creates that?
We use the good and the beautiful. So there's many homeschool curriculums that you could choose from.
So some sort of instruction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where in the past I taught typing and it was, this one particular book that we had, and that was the publisher, and that publisher published all these other
Yeah.
textbooks for business math and business law and secretarial procedures and accounting and whatever. That was their thing.
So how many children did you say you have at any?
Around
given-
85. Yeah.
On any given day,
On
around
any given
85?
Is that more than what you had in the prior uses because you expanded the age groups?
Yeah, so you mean like last year when I did
Yeah.
it before I came, I was in Seymour last year and I just had one area, I only had 18 students and then word spreads around.
Sure, sure.
Mm.
So yeah, that's many more than I
What's the
had.
capacity at this
I
facility?
was gonna wonder that.
Ben, do you know that? I'm not really sure. I know it's way over 85.
There's about, I want to say just under 10,000 total square feet, about, as I recall, about 9,200 square feet in the total building, which the facility will be completely utilized by this operation. So they will use the whole thing. There's more than enough space for 85 students plus their staff. I think Jim just put up, or someone just put up the building. You can see the building location. I believe the total square footage on it, as I recall, was about 9,200 square feet, if I recall correctly. It's in the statement of use, and I'm going to apologize. I'm at home and don't have my. So here we go. Yep. Thank you, Alex. And I believe it'll show that the total square footage of the building.
At the top of the next page.
Top of the next page. Yep.
But that doesn't help us with max capacity.
No.
No, no, but if you were, under that, if you were held, which in many cases is less than you see in some of our schools or some of our classrooms, you're looking at just under 100 students, about 92, 92 individuals would be there. So I think they're probably close to what their maximum capacity to be based on the total square footage. If you use 100 square foot per child, I think Jim might be able to help us out there, but I think that's probably excessive given the age range. I think if you had a daycare, it's been a long time since I've done a daycare, but I think 100 square foot per child for like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old is roughly what we're talking about. So you're less than 100 square foot per child, or more than 100 square foot per child for the total space that's available.
Has this gone before the fire marshal for review?
Fire marshal, as I understand it, has been in the building, had made some suggestions for changes. Joe, I know, has been working with the fire marshal. There had been certain changes that I think were made to the building, particularly in regards to egress and ingress, ensuring the ability for everyone to get in and out of the building, and for appropriate public safety folks to get in and out of the building. Joe is there. He can answer what was done in regards to with the fire marshal, but the fire marshal has been in the building, and I believe the fire marshal has signed off on the use of the building.
Usually the fire marshal puts up a placard
For
to
max.
show the capacity
Yeah.
as is, right? I believe
So
somewhere on the
since,
wall in
since
here.
it's not regulated by the state and they don't mandate how many children can be in this school, we need something to tell us, some professional to tell us what the max capacity of students is in this school. And since the state's not involved, the only person that would be is the fire marshal. So
I
he
did
needs
send
to-
him the numbers. He has the numbers and he has
Yeah.
approved the numbers.
This is Commissioner
Do
Kelly.
you
Where
have
all
that
this
in,
happened.
you have a proof of that?
I sent him the email of all the numbers.
Alex,
And
did we get
then-
anything from the fire marshal on this?
The city has told us we're pre-approved.
There is a letter of June 6th, I believe.
Okay, okay, as long as we have something from someone saying what the max capacity is.
This Commissioner Kelly, is there also a C of O on this building?
Certificate of occupancy?
Yeah.
Yeah. The building the official has to.
Do we know
Mr.
that?
Panico, if you find that particular letter that you mentioned from the fire marshal, just speak up.
Well, we have a letter in the file from the fire marshal dated June 16th of 2022.
Mhm.
If you wish, I'll read it. It says,
Yeah, go ahead.
Dear Alex, after a review of the site plan for the proposed mixed-use occupancy to be located at number 60-number 74 Todd Road, the following shall apply. One, a complete set of building plans, including but not limited to fire sprinkler and standpipe systems, fire alarm, or any other fire protection features, including the installation of fire hydrants when required, shall be submitted to the fire marshal for review for compliance with the Connecticut Fire Safety Code and applicable regulations and local ordinances. 2, all access roads shall be considered fire lanes and shall be maintained and marked in accordance with city ordinance. 3, new elevators should be of sufficient size to accommodate medical stretchers and the like. 4, each building shall have fire department knock/lock box installed for fire department access. And number 5, each building shall be easily identified from the street for emergency responders. With adherence to the aforementioned, the site plan for this project is hereby approved.
That's just the general for the PDD overall. It's not
Yeah, that's the temp
specific to the use
boilerplate.
of this building now, so.
There is an additional from the fire marshal.
There is an
It hasn't been
additional?
uploaded to the file yet.
Okay.
You don't have
it
it
says?
for projection?
No, I don't have it available for projection.
Do you have a hard copy of it somewhere?
It's upstairs.
Is it specific to the school?
Yes. I can run it right.
Would you please?
Yeah, is Mr. Rossetti still here in the building?
No.
Okay. All right, so we can continue on with
So again,
discussion.
there's a C of O.
That's the other thing I have.
Well, the fire marshal needs to be aware of the
Well,
fact
has
that,
has all this been done?
right,
That's why I'm
take
asking.
the rest of the apartments out and,
Mhm. All right, good evening, it's.
Joe Salem, 31 Sound Ridge Road.
Okay.
The fire marshal was in the building. The building inspector was in the building.
Mhm.
And they both gave some instructions on some safety,
Mhm.
door closings. And we updated at their accordingly, whatever they asked for. And they both said everything is fine, but they have to go back in after the approval.
Yeah,
So as soon as it's approved, they will go in tomorrow, hopefully.
did they
and-
know how many children are going to be in
Yeah.
this
I
school?
have the
Yes,
email. thread
yes,
that
we do.
shows
He
that I
does.
sent
Yeah,
them.
he said it was plenty of space according to Fire Marshal Totora. And he said, just let him know as soon as we go, because procedurally, he can't do a legal sign up until you guys give a approval on the use.
Mhm.
And same thing with.
Well, he can
Bill
send,
Bolero.
he can put a letter into the file of
Oh.
this
I think he
application.
did
They
already.
do all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
but the letter he did, unless
No, I
what,
think he did. I think
okay,
he's coming
that's
with-
all we're looking
Yeah.
for is that
No,
somebody's
because he-
got
no,
the
no,
oversight
no.
and the safety of the children in mind.
No, absolutely. He gave us a checklist and then we did everything that he had asked for, mostly door shutting issues, safety
closures.
issues, check the fire system. It's a pretty complex fire system that's for a security system combination and the sprinklers. It was all
Right.
checked, yeah.
Attorney Proto, can I just ask on the PEA, on the proposed parking, it's 17 spaces allocated to the PEA facility and 17 total spaces allocated to all uses. What is
This
that?
is the only
look like?
use.
Right,
So I believe there's a total of 31 spaces on the site, 17 to be utilized by the PEA, and a total use of the PEA of 17 spaces.
okay,
I think the way I had read that was when we have multiple uses on the property or within the PDD zone, you would allocate spaces per use and then provide a total number of spaces per use. In this particular case, there's one building, one use, therefore one set of parking, the 17. That would leave the other, what would it be, 14, I guess, spaces. open and available. And at least for the time being, this is the only use on the property.
That's right. Yeah, that's what we would expect that would be the
Right.
case.
Well, do you
Okay.
anticipate any expansion of staff?
This actually shows more parking than the 31, because this
Says-
goes into the
Right.
property next door.
I'm looking
Right
at
now,
the diagram.
even
Attorney
Tony,
Proto,
if you
hang on a
were,
minute. Hold
sorry.
on, Attorney Proto. I'm looking at the diagram. There's a dotted line that looks like 4 of them are on the next piece of property. Am I reading that correctly?
Jim, where's
Yeah, I know,
the,
but there's
I need,
there's some.
I think Jim
I
can
don't know if that was
Four of them
a,
are on 64 Todd Road property.
Yeah, well, again, this is Jim Swift, civil engineer. You need to remember that the PDD we're applying for includes all of the properties, extending for the
Wow.
entire site. So the
No, I
fact
would have to
that,
disagree with
That's
you,
your
Mr.
request.
Swift.
That's not,
This is not how we understand it. This is a revised proposed multi-use development. It does on the cover sheet say 60 to 74 Todd Road, but on,
that's also the
Three.
legal description.
that's 60 to 74 is all of it.
gentlemen, on pages 4 and 5 are the legal descriptions. And we have parcel A, first piece, second piece. No identification exactly, but on the third piece, at the end of legal description, it says said premises are also known as 64 Todd Road. Then at the bottom of page 5, the legal description for the property that says, at the end, said premises are also known as 60 Todd Road. And seeing that you're looking to occupy the 60 Todd Road building, I am under the impression that this is only for that parcel of land, not for any abutting or adjacent piece of property.
Due respect, Madam Chair, I think you're in error there. The statement of uses and standards and the survey plan that were submitted in support of this are for all parcels, but I'll defer to Ben on that as well.
That I would agree with Jim. All of the parcels are included, 60, 64 through 74 are included. We didn't take any of the parcels out. We only took the apartment structure out of the proposal.
If an application comes in for a PDD, the commission's entitled to have a concept plan for the use of the entire PDD. You are only showing use of one portion of it. Therefore, if the commission were going to move in an affirmative direction, more than likely they will reduce the size of the PDD to accommodate your need. In other words, parcel number 60.
Well, that again, Jim Swift, civil engineer. I mean, we're almost getting into semantics here. I mean, if that was the decision of the commission, certainly works for us. If and when at some future date we refile, either in changing this PDD or expanding to another PDD, it's certainly a major revision and it's going to require another public hearing. So if the decision of the commission was to restrict this to looking at what's on the screen now to the deed line of 60 Todd Road, that certainly works for us as well. So we bow to the commission.
Listen, Jim, I'm fine with that. You want to cut it off the whole other section, cut it off.
Mr. Panico, this is Commissioner Parkins. I have a question for you. If the residential component is removed from this requested PDD, does what's left constitute a PDD structure?
I'm sorry, repeat that. I'm not sure the gist of your question.
So if the residential component is removed from this request for a proposed PDD,
Right?
just the school in an existing building meet the requirements of a PDD?
It would appear to offhand, without having gone through every single step of it, but it's of adequate size. The facility exists, the parking exists. So what you see is what you get.
What's the transition?
But it does meet the size criteria.
Usually there's a transition though. That's what PDD is, a transition zone, correct?
I'm sorry,
PDD is a transition zone, correct?
Not necessarily a transition zone. No, it can be, it can be to accommodate a use that stands on its own without needing to be in a transition position.
Okay.
Okay.
If
Well, Mr. Salem has wanted to make a comment.
Well, actually, a question. So assuming it stays at the whole size, so the rest of the PDD would be obviously up to the board for approval for a detailed future use, which they've done in the past.
But that would not be following the intent of the PDD. The intent of the
So how can we do
PDD
this?
is to put
How
it
can we
into
do
place when
this?
you know what the intended use is.
Fine.
Yeah.
And
This is
then
a classic example of haste makes waste.
Well, if that's what you prefer to keep this simple, then let's just do it that way.
If it were a minor corner of the PDD that was still up in the air, you might generalize it in. But this is, the major part of it is the vacant land. And you're really asking us to establish a PDD for the entire parcel only to accommodate the one building in one corner of it.
I understand, but the original proposal had a former home, 2 homes on it, on the industrial land, which was never industrial use. And we're planning on developing it in the future for a non-industrial use. To incorporate the entire parcel, for example, now, it still gives the board the opportunity and the option to approve or disapprove of any use in the future on that property.
I think at that point in time,
If you want to cut it to that piece, then let's do that just so these kids could get back to education. This is, I'm doing whatever I can, forfeiting the apartments so they could just get into their building. So however you want to do it is fine with me.
Okay. I think it is a cleaner way of approaching it.
Then that's fine.
By
I'll
just-
come back in for a PDD again
This is-
on the next parcel.
Do it separately,
That's fine.
keep them
Yeah, I
totally
agree.
separate.
I mean, industrial is right down the end of the road, so it's not like there's no industrial down there, so.
Okay. All right, any questions from the commissioners before we go into the public portion? Mr. Pianico, do you have anything?
Thank you for all your.
no, it just with regard to the revised statement of uses and standards, it needs to be cleaned up a lot. I understand what the intent is, but it needs to be organized a little bit better, just as there was some misunderstanding about what area is being defined, et cetera. But we can do that. We can provide the applicant with a sort of a model that they would need to follow. This particular one is a little bit confusing, so I think I understand the intent of it. It just needs to be organized a little bit better.
If the commission so, this is Commissioner Parkins, if the commission so chooses to close the public hearing tonight, this is something that staff can work on, correct?
Yes, it could be done at a staff level.
Okay.
In progress.
Obviously, that's something that is required in order to, operate a gas station.
Okay. It's coming out of there. Okay.
Another planning and zoning meeting. It sounded like.
Would somebody mind grabbing the sign-in sheet, please? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go into the public portion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I will start identifying those that signed up for the Todd Road piece. And you can come up to the table, sit down,
2215, yeah.
identify yourself for the record, and I would
2215.
ask that you cooperate in being concise on your record, your comments. Okay, first one is Destiny Billy Ruiz. Come on up. Yeah. We won't bite. You gotta go bold.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening, and your name for the record and your address.
Destiny Billy Ruiz, address is 131 Chalmers Avenue in Bridgeport.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to say that I feel like a lot of the focus is put onto it fitting into the tradition of what school looks like. And that's not what we're about as a group. We're, our primary focus is to do things homeschool style, which is totally different than what public schools and how they handle things. And so it may be like hard to wrap your head around, like, oh, well, how about this? What is that? But the whole purpose of us going about it that way is to have the flexibility and freedom because it's what's best for our children when we feel. And so I just think that, that should be the focus, not, oh, well, how does it match up to what traditional school looks like? Because a lot of it seems to be focused on like hours, this and that. Homeschool allows that flexibility. The state of Connecticut doesn't require for parents to be certified to homeschool. It doesn't require that parents hire someone certified. It doesn't require a curriculum at all. And so for us to be able to add in this additional support within our community and be able to help one another so that our kids are set up for success in the way that we feel is best for them, it's just something that we're really looking forward to and anxious to getting things going so that we can get a nice flow going for them and create a sense of normalcy as well as socialization and just kind of creating that sense of community for them. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there that it doesn't look anything remotely close to school because it's not.
Right.
So.
Okay,
That's kind of what I wanted to
another
say.
half a minute.
Another, what? I didn't.
25 seconds.
Did you ever watch Let's Make a Deal?
Oh, my goodness.
And they would have you talk for 30 seconds to
So.
get a prize? Okay. No, you don't have to.
No, well, I
Well,
don't
you're
know.
saying- no,
That's
I'm just
it.
saying, I'm giving you the
Okay.
opportunity.
Yeah, so
Okay.
no, that's
All
all
right.
I have.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you so much for listening.
No. Okay. See, that wasn't so bad. All right, next is Sebastian Suko. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Come on up. Are you Sebastian?
Yep.
Hi, come on in. So what's your name
Sebastian Sugo,
and what's your address?
21 Smith Haven Drive, Seymour, Connecticut.
Okay, what would you like to tell us?
So Six Sprouts really helps me learn because it lets the kids work at their own level. And
Why
and,
that important to you?
and it's important to me because like in the regular schools, like they work at the grade. Yeah, and that's what happened to me when I was in kindergarten. Yeah, and
you were above the level they were
Yeah,
teaching you.
yeah.
No, I could tell you were advanced.
That's okay, read the rest of what you
And I really want to be in our building, and place we're using doesn't let us have enough time, and we need to do our other stuff like science and history. We need longer day to learn all our things. I really want to start doing science experiments. Thank you for listening to me. Please help us get our building.
Okay, very good. Sebastian, how old are you?
That's what I
I'm
said.
turning 7 in about 2 weeks.
7. I thought you were at least 9. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Very
Good for
nice.
you.
Nicely
Keep up the
done.
good work.
Thank you, Sebastian.
You're all free to come up and talk, but I think you're done.
I don't think you could top that.
No, I don't think so either.
Well, let's see if anybody wants to at least try. Adeline, I'm sorry, I just can't wrap myself around the last name. Hazinga? Oh, okay. So state your name and your address, and even though you're not supposed to ask a lady their age, would you mind sharing that with that?
Adeline Heisinger, and I am in, we're in Waterbury, and our address is 20 Cronin Drive.
Okay, and how old are you?
7.5.
7.5.
Almost 8.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn 8 in
Almost 8.
December.
All right. Go ahead, honey.
I am a student from Seeds to Sprouts. We still can't be in our classroom in our own building, and the classroom we are in now is so loud that we cannot do our work. We don't have time to do history and science because our school day has to be shorter, and history and science are my favorite subjects. Please give us our building back. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the list is Shawnee. Did you have anything? Okay.
Do you need my address too?
Yeah.
It's on there.
Yeah, it's for the record. It's gotta go.
So Shawnee Scaniff, and it's 215 Alpine Street in Bridgeport.
Mhm.
So I just basically want to echo the sentiments of the kids. They've been rock stars. They've handled all the transitions and everything really well.
Mhm.
But it breaks my heart that they have to be resilient. Even the space that we're in, it's not ideal for them, and they deal with it every day, but there's only so much that they could handle. It's loud for them. The day is short, the day is rushed. We don't fit in the things that are fun for them to have in their school day. So I just, if you guys could just approve this as quick as you can. I know you guys have procedures and stuff that you have to go through. But
Yeah.
I think it's really important for the kids to have the building.
Okay. Thank you very much. Two more, Aurelia. Deep breath. Okay, and say your full name.
Aurelia Bejanal.
Okay.
I'm so sorry for my accent. If
No,
it's
no,
still-
no apologies.
Address,
Your
3
address.
Poplar Drive, Shelton, Connecticut.
Okay, go ahead.
So I came from Romania 8 years ago. Me and my husband, he's an athlete. We came to support America. Actually, America asked us to come in America and support. He's a big athlete. He's in the top 10 of the world. He was bringing American flag on all the bigger strings of the world boxing world. We was living in New York. 4.5 years ago, we decided that we need a better education for my kids. And I work the same how you guys for the city hospitals in New York. And I left my job to come for the better education for my kids in Connecticut. And when I came here, the first thing that I did, I enrolled my daughter in the daycare. And before that building was a daycare. It's amazing. I love it. But the time was done, they was closed. And I'm very picky about the education of my kids. I don't like the school system. I was born in the communist system, and for me, the system that is in the school, I don't like when they line up the kids. They have to follow the rules. My opinion is the kids have to grow in the freedom, how the parents, they have to choose the education. So when I found Shane and I found the community, the members, and I found the education, I was absolutely amazed how we as a parents can educate our kids the way we want, not how the way that the government wants. And when I moved here, I'm working in the health department, and I work through the COVID, hundreds of hours, guys, to support you when you was home. And I'm asking you, as a community of Shelton, to support us and help me when I need to give education to my kids that I wanted, please.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And last person, is it Bradley?
Hi, I'm Bradley Heisinger, 20 Cronin Drive, Waterbury, Connecticut.
Mhm.
I'm one of the teachers From Seeds to Sprouts, and I myself was homeschooled. I graduated from homeschool with scholarships to several different colleges academically. So I've seen the homeschool and family together model work really successfully. And I just urge you guys to have compassion for our kids who, like has been reiterated, I'll keep it short. We have a shortened school day. It's loud, it's chaotic. And these kids have had so much transition because we've had to find different alternative locations and different schedules, and they're confused and they're exhausted. I mean, just today we had multiple kids that were just totally exhausted. They don't know where they're supposed to be. And we really want to have consistency for them. And we'd like to be able to use our space that's set up perfectly for us as soon as possible. So thank you very much for taking the time to hear us.
Not a problem. Thank you for coming. Anyone else in the auditorium? Come on up, ma'am. Sign this, and after this, we're going to move into move on to anyone that might be participating via Zoom. Okay, thank you. Okay, identify yourself for the record.
Judy Perez, 65 Beecher Avenue, Shelton.
Well, our goals as parents is to educate our children and to find the best ways to accomplish that. And the majority of us have found gaps in the current education system that's being taught through the public system. There are certain topics that are being introduced to the children that we're not in alignment with. Children are too young to understand those topics. Therefore, we think it's best to have that spiritual, cognitive, and body education being enforced through our values, through what we as parents, want to enforce. And in the community, we found like-minded families. They stand by the same values that my husband and myself do. We have formed a nice community and we're very excited about it. And we're hopeful that you guys can understand what the mission, what the philosophy of the group of the families are and approve the request.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, last call for anyone in the auditorium. Step up, please. And this is going to be the final call. If you want to address the commission, please sign in, come quickly, because we do have to have Zoom, anyone on Zoom and anyone that's participating by phone. And we do have 2 other public hearings to get through. So.
Okay.
Let me just identify
Yeah,
yourself.
just
for the
one here.
record.
Sure. Hi, I'm Robert Norbo. We live at 450 Beacon Falls, 450 Remond Hill Road, Beacon Falls, Connecticut. We started homeschooling Julia in kindergarten. I myself went to the public school system, and I grew up in Orange, Connecticut. I overall liked the public school system. I went to private school originally, then went to public school. When I went from private, and I went to New Haven Hebrew Day School. It's a Jewish school because my parents didn't like the public school in West Haven when we were growing up in a bad neighborhood. Then I went to the public school, and when I went to the public school was like a year and a half behind what they were doing in the private school. My mom had to kind of go and keep pushing advanced classes for me to keep up with it. For us, for our daughter, we ended up through a combination of seeing a little bit of a degrading standard of like education and a lot of the younger grades and a lot of kids in college having more anxiety and all sorts of issues that I saw as kind of almost a mental health crisis or something. I wanted to see what's happening with it. And as part of this, basically, we started homeschooling. And what we ended up finding out was that Julia, our daughter, was becoming more advanced. She was catching up. She was reading faster than kids in public school. And after a while, and we really liked it. We liked being a part of it, but it's very difficult to balance. And it's very hard to make it so that she really wants to also be with other kids too while she's learning. So while she's being more advanced, we wanted to balance that with social life. We had her involved in karate, we had her involved in dance class and multiple meetups with other friends, but we really wanted to have something that she can be learning together with a group of other kids and this school happens to follow the same homeschool curriculum that we were doing at home. So it was a very easy transition for us. So,
Coming down to.
okay. So just thank you for your time and I really appreciate it. I know.
Just spell your last name for the record.
It's Norbieu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next one is Daniel.
How you doing?
Hi, name for the record and address.
Daniel Paragallo, 500 South Brooksville Road, Cheshire, Connecticut.
Go ahead.
Just want to take the time to thank all of you for having this meeting and considering all the requests and your concerns, all of your concerns. This school has offered my daughter an opportunity to learn in a way. I have other daughters that are in public school who are struggling, and I'm spending a lot of energy and effort just to get them what they need to advance. And when I look at what this school is doing for my youngest daughter, it's literally allowing her to just learn, to advance, to grow. And the struggle that I've had back to the public school arena has just kind of shown me as an individual. I've heard about public school, but seeing it firsthand for my children, everyone being a little different, but the majority of what I've seen with my other daughters is a place where it's just about grades, tests, and the emotional well-being, and this, like the child's mindfulness is not very well considered. And so if they make the grade, it's great, they move on. If not, they're just special ed. And if they need one-on-one, it's good luck. Get an attorney or figure it out. And that's what this school and what Shawnee has provided. And going into our classroom when we first met, just seeing all the kids just learning. I mean, no, it's not a public school. No, it doesn't have the curriculum, but the curriculums they are using, watching the kids grow is just phenomenal. And so the big thing that I've noticed with my children is transition and change throws their brains off. They cannot focus and struggling at home and abroad, and just being able to get to the place where they're in a safe environment would be great. And I would greatly appreciate your consideration of that.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And the last one, Michael. Good evening.
Good evening. Michael Freeman, address is 9 Goldenrod Drive, Ansonia, Connecticut. My wife and I, we have a 4-year-old daughter that's in the program. And what I wanted to say tonight was I can't speak highly enough to what Shawnee and the staff has done, even with all of the changes. And it's the homeschooling structure that they're using. It's not just kids just coming in and just playing around, right? They're actually learning, and it's aligning with what the parents are looking for, which is most important for us. Or I can at least speak for myself and for my wife, and I know the other parents feel the same way. So I guess what I really just want to express is that this is a great extension from what in addition to what we're doing at home. So to be able to provide that social aspect and giving the kids an opportunity to socialize and work with each other and build friends, and it's become a community for us as well. So we're just excited for the opportunity for us to have the building, for the place for us to actually be more organized in how they run things. And like Shawnee said earlier, just to have that consistency. So just wanted to echo that message and just be another voice, another parent, just speaking on behalf of how good what they have built and what the vision is for this program, and how important it is for my child and possibly for our young 5-month-old once he gets older as well. So that's it for me, but I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Michael. Ms. Castro, is there anyone on Zoom that has indicated that they would like to address the commission?
No.
Okay, so
Yes.
if there's anyone else participating by Zoom, you need to use the raise your hand feature. Do you have a name? Initial what?
J.
Okay, is there someone participating by Zoom with first initial J?
Yes, Jessica Serbo.
Okay, Jessica, go ahead. Just spell your last name for the record, please.
S as in Sam, C-E-R, B as in boy, O.
Okay, and your address, please.
42 Laurel Heights Road, Shelton.
Okay, go ahead, and we do have a 2-minute time limit, so go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing everyone speak. Thank you for making the considerations for what we're asking for. As a Shelton resident and as a parent of 2 children who up until very recently have been in the Shelton school system, I felt it would be worth giving you my perspective. I also am a product of the Shelton school system quite a long time ago, but I would like to hope I can help you to understand that especially for my children and especially for many children, public school, even private school, is not for every child. Unfortunately, that's the model we are stuck in our country. but homeschooling is very beneficial to children, especially children who suffer from things like anxiety and mental health issues. Speaking from personal experience, both of my children had a very difficult time within the public school setting, and being able to allow my youngest daughter to be a part of Seeds to Sprouts has drastically turned her educational experience around, from an anxious one to a happy one to one where she is thriving and learning. We are no longer dealing with some of the anxieties we were dealing with before. So I ask you to please consider to allow us to open as soon as possible. And thank you so much for all of your time.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Ms. Castro, anybody else?
No.
Okay, is there anyone participating by phone?
No.
No, okay. Last call for anyone participating by phone? Okay, so Attorney Proto, do you have any final comments?
First, Madam Chair and members of the commission, we know this has been somewhat arduous for all of us. And we've kind of gone round and round to try to find different solutions. I think everybody in this room, including I think the members of the commission, and based on their comments, want to find a solution for these children. And we think this is the best solution that we can come up with. So it's our request to the commission that they approve this application for this private education association to be located in an existing building on an existing parcel to create the PDD, as Mr. Salem has indicated and Mr. Swift and myself have indicated. If you need to just keep this just to that singular parcel, we understand that. Our goal right now is it's more important to get the children back into their facility, back into a learning environment, back into a normalized situation, and we will deal with the development aspects and the economic aspects of what we need to do down the road, and we will come back and have that conversation with the commission at the appropriate time. But at this point in time, Madam Chair, members of the commission, we'd ask for your approval of this as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, so that this facility can get up and running and these children can get back to a normalized learning situation. With that, Madam Chair, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them. If not, we'd ask for the approval.
Okay, or rather the commission, any questions for the applicant? No. Mr. Panico?
Not other than what we already discussed.
Okay, all right. So seeing that there are no further questions, is there a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close it.
There's a motion from Commissioner Kelly to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second, Commissioner Onofrio.
There's a second to close from Commissioner Onofrio. So on the motion to close the public hearing made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Onofrio, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So I'd like to now get a consensus of the commission and how it wants to proceed with this application. For myself, I would require what the applicant has agreed to, that any approval, it would be limited to just the parcel of land that is known as 60 Todd Road and identified as such, the legal description of which it's on the bottom of page 5 of the revised statement of uses and standards. The approval would not apply for any other use or for the other abutting or adjacent parcels as included in the revised statement of uses and standards. I'm not sure if any of the other commissioners feel that there's any other contingencies that we have to include, such as the confirmation by the fire marshal of capacity. The certificate of occupancy would have to be put on file. That's normal. But how do other commissioners feel?
Be written up, will be written up as a resolution.
Yeah. That's
So I think the capacity issue should be addressed in that.
I would just like a max number, even for
Right.
future going forward.
Sure.
You know, if this grows and, you know, they've got 250 students there,
Right.
there needs to be some max. And usually at any building has a
Mhm.
maximum
Maximum
capacity.
occupancy,
It's
it does.
just
Right.
standard. Every building has a
Mhm.
max capacity. So we just like to know from the fire marshal what the max capacity of this building would be.
okay. And
And the parking would have to. Match up with.
Yeah, we'll go along with
Yeah.
that. All right. And then Commissioner Kelly, did you have anything specifically?
No, I think you've said it all.
Okay, Commissioner Afro? Okay, Commissioner Laskos?
I'm fine with the way it's described. No comments on PEA or homeschooling.
Okay. Well, as it appears that there's a consensus for approval among the commission, Mr. Panico, I'm directing you to have a resolution prepared for our next, a favorable resolution prepared for our next meeting next Wednesday, October 26th.
All righty, I'll do my best.
Very good. All right, thank you, everyone. For those in the audience who are not staying on for our other two public hearings, we'd appreciate your leaving expeditiously and any conversations continue in the hall. I'd also like to commend all the parents, all the children that came here this evening. This is truly your showing your children government in action and what needs to be done to have an organized kind of system. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and meet us. And
And for educating us.
Yes, yeah. We do wish the school and its children all the best in the world. And I just may stop by someday and see you all. Good night.
Thank you all. We appreciate your time.
Good night, Attorney Proto. All right, so we're, second agenda item was to be the continuation of application 2214 S&G of Shelton LLC, but the applicant's attorney has not yet joined us due to another meeting. So we're going to move on to agenda item C, the opening of a public hearing for commission action to change the R1 zone of properties in the northern section of Long Hill Avenue from Nean Street to Garden Street Terrace to an R2 zone to improve the conformity of existing properties. And the chair is recognizing Attorney Teodoso, Shelton Corporation Counsel.
Madam Chair, I need 1 minute.
Sure. Okay, take a short recess.
What? You're it? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to read the legal notice when we get back. Is that what you were saying?
Are we on a recess?
Yeah. Shut off your mics. Yeah, Fran is ready. Put your button down.
Are we still recording?
Is it down already?
Yeah.
I got kicked off.
Yeah.
Panelist. I don't know why.
No, just push it. You don't have to hold it, just push it.
Push it
down.
out, yeah. That other woman.
We pushed the whole thing through, didn't they?
Yeah, well, you mean the whole.
Alex,
part.
I got kicked off as a panelist.
That was a little.
I got kicked off. I don't know why. I don't think you did it specifically.
You all ready to go?
Just get a-
Okay, just give us a heads up.
The problem, if I'm not a panelist, then there's a delay between people speaking
Mhm.
and when it actually shows up. No, it's not the same screen as up there, so I would think.
No.
He's a
because
panelist.
he's done it.
You're correct, yeah. First lady didn't want to come up out of her seat.
Right.
She's like, I'm 30 something
Yep,
years old.
he was good.
Little boy trots up,
Absolutely right.
sits down.
So he's gonna
He
have
was
to
a
wait.
cooch.
Confidence.
Very much.
They're doing real
You good?
with the prices of it.
All right.
Saving them from themselves.
Yeah.
Attorney Tito, so you all set?
Like that, huh, Fran?
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Just got a
All right,
different
the mics
screen.
on. Okay, so we are moving on to the commission action to change the R1 zone of properties in the northern section of Long Hill Avenue from Main Street to Garden Terrace to an R2 zone to improve the conformity of existing properties. So Commissioner Mata, would you please read the notice of the public hearing?
Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission, the city of Shelton, Connecticut hereby gives notice of the public hearing to be held on Wednesday, October 19th, 22 at 6 o'clock via Zoom, and at City Hall to consider the following. Commission action to change the zoning from R1 to R2 along the northern section of Long Hill Avenue from Main Street down to Garden Terrace to improve the conformity of existing properties. The general area is bounded as follows: northerly by Constitution Boulevard and south and Main Street, easterly by Constitution Boulevard south and Ivy Lane, southerly by Garden Terrace, westerly by Long Hill Avenue and Route 8.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Motto. So, Trinity Doso, what would you like to share with us?
2 points of order before we start. Do you want me to stay back here? I don't really like to stand back here.
No, come on, sit. That's why.
Come on up and join the table.
Okay. Second point of order. The commission did direct me to provide additional notice with regard to this zone change. And despite an effort to do that through a miscommunication between a couple of offices, the additional notice did not go out, and I want to make the commission aware of that. It was not going to be a individual notification to each property owner. It was going to be a second banner publication in either the newspaper and or the website, neither of which is required in order to go forward. But I want to be candid with the commission with regard to its initial directives and where we are at this point. As Tony and I have told you, we are within legal rights to start a public hearing now with the notification that has gone into the paper in due course. And I just checked with Alexa to make sure that that had in fact been published, and it has. But it's the commission's prerogative as to what you want to do. We could start this public hearing, we could close this public hearing, you could decide that later. You don't have to decide that now. I'm giving you the options. You could ask for additional notification to go out after this public hearing or to be published online. It's your prerogative, and unless you stop me, I'm going to continue to go forward at this point.
I thought we were pretty clear on wanting
I think so.
individual homeowners to be notified.
Well, the concern about notifying individual homeowners is as follows.
Yeah.
If we do that, then every single zone change that we do as a city, and we've never done it before, we didn't do it with the Moss property, we're going to have to notify individual owners, not because of any other reason, but everybody's going to argue that
We
hey,
set a
you did it
precedent.
for that neighborhood, why are you doing it for this neighborhood?
Well, it just doesn't seem like something you'd be doing all that often. So that it could be
It's-
decided on a case by case.
But did we do it
basis.
for the last zone change that was done there?
No, we've never
No.
done it.
No,
What zone change was that?
The one that we,
Oh, that, yeah, but
Yeah.
that only, well,
that was quite a major
I mean, it
one.
wasn't all these residents, all of these,
Sure was,
was it?
Let's,
sure was.
I would suggest that we go over what Attorney Teodoso has prepared,
Yeah,
because
okay.
just without hearing the parameters of this,
Okay.
we're not gonna get anywhere.
Let me do this. I have a handout for each of you that is pretty much going to track what I say. And I also have a colored map that was drawn by Tracy Lewis.
Good.
This is his, and it's in your electronics. I'm not sure.
It's online, but not colorized.
Right, I do, and I'm gonna hand them out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand them out in 2 ways. I'm gonna give you the colored one so that you can get an appreciation for the properties that are affected by this zone change. Everything else on this map is not affected because it is affected, but there's really not much they can do with the property because it's already an R2 size
Yeah.
or smaller.
Mhm.
Okay, now, the properties that are highlighted are more than an acre. And if they're more than an acre, there's a potential that those properties can be split as a result of this. But when you look at the map, you'll see if that split occurs, those properties are still mostly bigger than the properties that surround them in this so-called R1 zone anyway, because of everything that has happened in this zone.
I don't know.
Let's see if we can.
Here, I'll start with
What
you.
you just
okay?
said, yeah.
Well,
So I did notice that.
This is an R1
Right.
zone, okay?
Yeah.
Every one of these lots
They're like R2 plots.
are R2. They don't conform to R1 as it is right now.
They're listed as R1 on
The
the.
zone is an R1, but I have gone through.
And that is because of lot size, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And the map that you're looking at, these are large parcels.
Right,
This is the St. Margaret Mary.
Mhm.
The city of Shelton owns this property right here. I'm sorry, this property right here.
Okay.
St. Margaret Mary owns all this.
Okay.
These are conservation or city of Shelton property.
Oh, okay.
Primarily the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 pieces of property that are an acre or more that might be affected by this zone change. And they're dispersed throughout the entire zone, which is R2, practically,
Attorney,
from a
you
practical
know,
perspective.
if there are more than 1 acre, changing that would actually allow that person to subdivide itself.
Well, yes, I think it would be a re-subdivision, but yes.
But some of these wouldn't.
And-
Like
and
this
that-
probably could, I'm just.
Wouldn't be
guessing.
practical.
Well, that's the other thing.
These
Yeah.
here that
Yeah.
are on the road, those look like this.
I'm gonna do a show and tell here in a second.
One more.
Yeah, why don't we get the maps and then.
The map you have is on the last page,
got it?
which
Okay.
he's
You
looking
got
at.
it? You got it?
That one is yellow. You can see
Right.
the shadows on the last page.
I know.
Because here, I need the most help.
No.
Okay, so it's kind of gray. Wow.
So far.
If you guys all go to the last page, I'll start with
Yes.
the.
Yep.
And Alex has got the map up behind you also,
Mhm.
okay? But if you stop, or you start at the top of this subdivision map,
Mhm.
the properties that are affected by this, there's one on the top that I missed in my coloring. It's across from Constitution Boulevard, but that looks like from just eyeballing it, that it's an acre. That's this piece up here, way up here, and you can see it on there.
Mhm.
But if you look and you proceed down, you can see that there's 3 parcels north of, if you want to call it the St. Margaret
Mhm.
Mary area, that are larger than 1 acre. It's pretty tough land over on that area, but conceptually, or I should say legally, after this zone change, if you were to do it, they would be allowed to subdivide. And I'll go into what kind of subdivision could occur based on the change in the regulation. Obviously, if the city of Shelton or St. Margaret Mary decided to sell their property or develop their property, this kind of zone change would benefit them. But with the point I'm making, if you look at this, is they're in the middle of a de facto R2 zone with the configuration of the lots that you can see throughout. All of these properties that are on the western sides of the developed roads that are perpendicular to Long Hill Avenue, all of those properties, including the property that's between St. Margaret Mary and
This here.
Conservation, right?
the conservation, are all either city of Shelton land or conservation land, Conservation Commission land. There is no property there that any developer holds. If you go onto Long Hill Avenue and you follow my highlighting here, you can see the parcels of property that do get affected by this zone change, if in fact they were able to somehow configure 2 lots on that property. Physically, I don't think it can happen, given the way they're situated vis-a-vis the roadway. And because you remember, right after Long Hill Avenue in their backyard is Route 8.
Mhm.
Okay, and I would suspect if they were going to subdivide those lots, they would have petitioned for R2 by this time already.
You're talking
given
about these particular.
These lots here, these lots here. that come
Yeah.
down this side.
So they're not right on a road and
They're right on Long Hill Avenue.
So wouldn't they just split them in half that way?
But they have to
There's
have.
houses right in the
Depends
middle.
where the
of those.
house is.
Yeah.
Well,
The dwelling is. They
right.
They could
something
theoretically, but there's a
Tear the house down.
Yeah.
They'd have to
They'd
rip
have
it
to
down.
tear the house down.
They-
Okay.
We'd have to become, in Fairfield, they do tear houses down to rebuild houses.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
property
Yeah.
values are so high. So it can be done
Yeah.
conceptually. but-
Those could, these I would think would not, because they'd have to be like a rear lot, these lots.
Those
here.
can't, they can't because they're
They don't have the
undersized
front.
already. They're already
These-
R2. They don't,
No, these bigger pieces here,
um,
but they look like you wouldn't be able to get a rear, it'd have to be
Yeah.
like a rear lot, and
Yeah.
I don't think you'd have the.
and that's why I
frontage.
said with the topography over there, it's
It's not.
practically
Yeah.
impossible.
Okay, so it's more like these couple of lots here.
That's
that are on
the,
Right,
on
that's
the
your
road.
primary area.
Proposed zone line.
This lot up here,
Starts here.
the
the
one
jocks,
that's across the
goes
street
over,
from
goes
the
up.
city of Shelton
Mhm.
property.
This one.
So half the property is gonna be.
This one. Right there.
Yeah.
Fran, on Trinity, on these here, the line runs through their property?
What is that line depicting?
That's essentially the zone, but zoning is, if your property fronts on a certain zone, that's the zone you're in.
Right.
Okay, so it really, it's like this in a way.
So all those properties.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah, we're not trying to split those.
No. no. Okay, all right. And point out for me the one that you said you didn't color in. Which one is it up here?
It's right here. It looks like a dog ear at the top, right there.
This thing?
This one.
That's the park.
Okay, but I didn't look
Yeah.
it up by
Yeah.
mistake, so
Oh,
I
yeah, that's
couldn't
the
tell.
park.
That's the little
Park
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
Oh, no, it's not.
yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
Where's
this
the
is
street?
Pocket Park. This is Pocket Park is yours constitution.
Yeah, that's what we noticed.
No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant up on the other side of.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say,
Myrtle.
so we're not creating any undue or improper advantage to anybody.
You're giving anybody who has an R1 zone who has over an acre of property, the probability or the possibility
Of
of
subdividing.
subdividing.
But
but-
not any
Not devaluing any property.
connected to
No.
us, or that it would look like we were doing this for any improper.
No, I mean, this is a zone change that comes about as I've analyzed the roads that come up the hillside. In the subdivisions that your newest subdivision.
We changed it here, didn't we?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is a.
Yeah, that's
Gamble
the one
place.
That we
approved.
just
So-
changed that.
But,
yeah.
so what I'm saying is, down here, this used to be R1,
Mhm.
and all this property was R1, and street by street, you've changed it to R2. You just,
Oh, those
Right.
weren't pre-existing R2, pre-existing the zone? I thought that's what this whole area, these were.
No, that was a PRD, right? Sylvan, it's a PRD.
So we're
Where
just
am I
trying to
going?
get this area to conform.
correct, and
That's
you've
what
got,
you're
you've got
doing,
the
you're
zone map
performing it.
behind you.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
All
Yeah.
right. Now, I also want to point out larger tracts of land. There's a gentleman that owns property on this side
Mhm.
of Constitution Boulevard. It's approximately 3 acres. It's over
David
here.
Chester?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that is a possible area that has is affected by this
Well,
zone.
that could be subdivision.
Correct, correct. But at the present time, it could be theoretically a subdivision into 3 lots,
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
okay? I mean, I don't know the topography there. I know Constitution Boulevard is somewhat dug into the road.
It's
So
rocky.
it's pretty steep and everything else, but on 2 dimensions, it
Yeah,
looks
that's the
good.
advantage, right.
Okay. All right. So I explained to you that really the rationale for this is that we have a de facto R2 zone in an R1 zone. There is also some benefit to the owners of the R2 lots in that if they, and I'll show you with the setback, but they are categorized pre-existing non-conforming lots. There's a body of law that says that you're not supposed to make a non-conforming lot more non-conforming. So when they come in for variances with regard to side yards and things of that nature, they're cutting against the, if you will, theory of that whole body of law. So this would benefit them with regard to side yards.
They wouldn't need a variance on some projects.
Well, they may if they
were
want
all
to split,
R2.
if they want to put 2 houses, they may need
No,
a
I'm just saying if they
variance.
just want to add on and they
Their
fit within the
setbacks.
R2 setbacks.
Their setbacks in an R2 are,
Right.
the side yards for a setback in an R2
Yeah.
are less than the setbacks
For
in
an
an
R1.
R1.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is the fact that you have them categorized as
Yeah, I
R1
get it.
makes it harder for them
Yeah.
to get a setback or to comply with their
I
setback.
totally get it.
Okay.
So some people wouldn't need a variance.
Correct.
Right.
Some would though.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, but
like
the-
anybody. would.
whoever
Depends what they
would
wanna
need it,
do.
would
Yeah.
need it in an R1.
Right.
What this effectively does is takes a lot of the applications to this planning and zoning commission off the
Sure,
table because it's a de facto thing that they can do. It's
Yeah.
administrative.
Yeah,
Mhm.
takes it away from zoning board of appeals as well, possibly. If, if they don't need a variance.
Right, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a hearing at the beginning of September and it was for somebody up off of Waverly Road and they were having a difficult time because they just didn't meet the requirements for that zone.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are other parts of the city that we would be able to then
That we're
look
looking
at.
Right.
Because things have changed over the years. So
And that's one of my concerns with regard to the notice.
to the,
No,
Extra notice.
oh, yeah,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
All right, now,
There's some other pages in here.
no, what I'd like to do is I'd like to explain to you the changes that would occur in your bulk standards and in your Schedule A and your Schedule B. I've written those up for you, and I did catch both a typo and an omission, but I'll call it to your attention when we get to it. If you start with our Schedule A, I gave you the Schedule A out of the zone book to show you the changes. And really, the changes are 3. Changing the zone from an R1 to an R2 would eliminate 1A and 1B in your zoning regulations, which are now allowed in that area by special exception. They would just not be allowed at all.
So it's an X.
Correct. And those are pretty major developments that you probably wouldn't want in that area anyway. Okay? If you go down to section 3, it does say that there's the possibility of a special exception being applied for if you change the zone, because it's not allowed in R1, it would be allowed in R2, and it's up to 12 dwelling units. But as you'll see in the zoning section Schedule B, you need 7,500 square feet for each one of those units. So again, the practical ability to fit that on these lots is going to be, it's theoretical, but
Impossible.
So there's a more stringent kind of restriction.
Well, it's a lesser restriction on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, but the practical side of it I'm saying to 12 lots, you need 7,500 square feet, or not 12 lots, 12 units, you need 7,000 square feet. per
Does that
unit.
E stay as E?
I'm sorry?
Does it, or does it go to an X?
No, this is, all we're doing
Yeah.
is moving the property
Yeah.
from R1 to R2. We're not changing the table. So you have to
Okay.
read the table
Mhm.
as
It'll
moving
be a
from
special
R1.
exception.
Right.
Still
But
says.
you could do like a two-family house, or you couldn't do it in an R1.
Probably a duplex.
Yeah.
There's no change. If you go down your permitted uses in R1 and R2, I have isolated for you, and we haven't gone over the last one, but I've isolated for you the 4 uses that are different in the 2 zones. Everything else is the same. So whatever was there
Well,
before,
here, this 3.
that's what I'm
the
talking
bottom,
about
yeah.
right now.
So that, yeah, so, we're saying probably 12 wouldn't fit, but maybe 2 units would fit.
Yeah, up to 12 units.
But they could do a two-family house by special exception.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which might help with that. Affordable housing.
Yep.
Or something, yeah. Nobody really builds those anymore, have them?
Like
No,
duplexes.
duplexes, townhouses, kind of.
Two-family.
Wish somebody would
Well,
start building them for seniors.
Hawks
Okay.
Ridge has side-by-side units connected, so.
Okay, so if we go to the last permitted use, really, and Tony, I would appreciate your input on this one, number 3A. My reading of it is there was
I don't have a 3A.
I know, because I didn't even think it was worth giving to.
Oh, okay.
It seems like that was a zoning regulation that was written in at the time zoning regulations were passed years ago for a specific project that you guys never took it out of the zoning book.
That's correct. There were 1 or 2 outstanding projects that had been approved under that use line that were never built. And in the event that one of those projects came back in to get a reapproval, and now we've made it an X, it would not have been allowed. Therefore, to accommodate that potential, that was inserted as an E under the R1 zone. It's of no longer any effect, really.
Yeah, it's yesterday's news.
Mhm. So they were added for specific projects that no
Well,
longer
here,
came
I'll
about.
read the section to you.
It does not pertain to any new projects.
Here, I got this section here. I'll read it to you. I'm reading from 33.6.12, reapproval. Multifamily residential developments are no longer permitted in an R1 district. Notwithstanding this fact, an outstanding application for a multifamily residential development in an R1 district that was approved prior to May 27, 1987, and which has not yet been completed, may be reapproved by the commission. And I'm going to stop there.
That's it.
It's talking about the R1 zone and somebody who's out there in R1. We're changing to R2. It actually benefits us because they're never coming back here, but I don't even think it was for this property, correct?
If we were rewriting the zoning today, we would probably take that line out of there.
Okay.
I mean, it was back in 1987. You're talking about 37 years ago.
It's legalese.
Legalese.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's move on. Those are your 4 use differentials between R1 and R2. Then if we go over to the bulk standards.
Yep.
Let me just get my cheat sheet. I listed them for you, but I also gave you a table that you could look at.
Alex, do you have this for Peter's viewing? Okay.
The most substantial, obviously, is the 40,000 to 20,000 square feet. But again, all those smaller squares that are not highlighted on my map are already less than 40,000 square feet, and very, actually, a lot of them are less than half an acre. I mean, I got 0.36, 0.38, 0.45, 0.37, 0.27. Really, there's 7 pieces of property that are an acre or more on that whole subdivision. The contiguous buildable area would go from 40,000/30,000 to 20,000. The minimum lot area per dwelling unit would go from 10,000 to 7,500. And that's what I called to your attention when we were talking about the use change in R3. The minimum dimension of a lot drops by 25 feet. The minimum lot frontage drops by 15 feet. And again, really, this is only what pertains to those lots that we're talking about, because everybody else in the zone has less than that already. And this is the section 9. On your my handout, I erroneously put the number 5. It should be the number 9.
Right.
But if you go to number 9, you can see that the setback from side or other property would be decreased from 30 to 20 feet. And that's what we were alluding to when we were talking about the variances that would be necessary. Then there is one more that I omitted, and I want to call it to your attention. In order to see it, you have to look on the table and not on my summary, because I missed it when I was writing them up. And it's 11A, the maximum lot coverage of accessory structures as a percent of the lot area. It would go from 2.5% to 3%. So the outbuildings could be a little more of a
But only relative,
mass.
they probably wouldn't be bigger because the
Lots are so
smaller.
small.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
probably smaller.
All right, so I'm open to any questions you might have. I think that I've explained to you the rationale and the history of this area, and also why the notice that I alluded to earlier didn't go out. It's your decision. I'm open for questions. I'm finished. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, would that change the tax status, the property tax value of any existing properties because of a change of from R1 to R2?
I mean,
Does that make them less
they,
taxable?
I think that they could theoretically go down a bit, but then the excess acreage goes up a bit, but acreage is taxed at less than dwelling.
Yeah, it's not like a bank is gonna say, well, your property isn't worth this much anymore.
No, I'm just thinking about the town tax.
Yeah.
the Property taxes.
Okay. I just thought of two more things that I do want to tell the commission. On my map, first of all, on the western side, the southwestern corner of the map, you see I've written the Zekin LLC office.
Yep.
Low rise. That business has an entrance from the area that's going to be rezoned from R1 to R2. So theoretically, that piece of property gets better acreage division, because that's about a 5-acre piece. But right
Yeah.
now, there's a business.
It's the medical building.
Right in the middle
Yeah,
of the property.
a Vivy
I
building.
just want to have full disclosure to the
Yeah.
board. And then on the other side, I've highlighted the the southwestern corner of the property, right here. Right here.
Like the L-shaped, upside down L?
Okay, I'm going across the
Across the
street.
street, okay.
Okay, there is an entrance there. That's the Gata property. And there's a
Oh,
Gata
okay.
subdivision
Yeah,
back there. I just want you to know that. Okay?
Which one? That's this.
That's this.
piece?
Over
This
here.
L piece? Oh, over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions for Trinity Joseph from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Lasko, so you okay out there?
Yes. you did it here.
I'm fine with it.
Very good. All right, then, Mr. Panico, do you have any comments?
No, I don't have that last package of material that you looked at, but I'll get a copy of it and I'll take a look at it. But from what I heard, I don't have any real comments.
Okay. All right, is there anybody, we'll go into public portion. Did any, Trinity Joseph, can you grab those two signing sheets? please?
There's nothing on either.
Good, all right, so there's anybody in the auditorium that would like to make any comments about this public hearing? No, anybody online, Mrs. Castro? Okay, so, is there anyone that would want to make a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Okay, there's a motion to close the public hearing. Commissioner Kelly, is there a second?
One second.
Commissioner Motto has second, so on the motion to close, made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Motto. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Onofrio?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
And chair votes aye, motion passes. So I'd like to get a consensus from the commission on how it wants to proceed. Myself, I think the zone change is suitable as it provides uniformity throughout the designated area. So Commissioner Kelly, you have any comments?
No, just what you said, it's suitable.
Okay, Commissioner Motto?
I think it makes sense in terms of the homeowners. that are
Okay,
Already in those small lots.
great. Commissioner Onofrio?
Yeah, no added comments or anything. I think I agree with the discussion so far.
Okay, and Commissioner Parkins?
I don't see any downside.
No downside. And Commissioner Lascos?
I'm in favor of the zone change.
Okay. All right, seeing that it appears there's a consensus for approval among the commission, and Mr. Rossetti will be directed to have a resolution prepared for our next meeting on October 26th. Okay, last agenda item. Thank you, Attorney Teodoso. Is there? All right, is Attorney Thomas with us? He is? He's elevated?
Was there a second ago? Oh, there it is.
We're on the right? No.
See that?
There it is.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let me identify this as the continuation of application 22-14 S&G of Shelton LLC at 301 Old Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 91, Lot 17 on 1.91 acres in an RBD zone for a PDD and initial development plan approval for 43 apartments with on-site parking. Just a reminder, the public hearing opened July 20th. A revised first floor plan and another copy of the current site plan was submitted by the applicant. There were also several other items submitted by the applicant on Tuesday, including a revised traffic report and a parking analysis. So Attorney Thomas, will you be presenting the revised statement of uses and standards?
Attorney Dominic Thomas, Conan Thomas, 350 Main Street, Durham, Connecticut, representing the applicant. First of all, I want to thank the chairman for moving this to number 3, so I was able to enjoy the Valley Bar and judges outing, and I convey to you a
It's
greeting.
not the meeting that I thought you were going to be in.
Right. I
Bamboozled.
Yeah.
express that now judge, formerly your corporation counsel, Thomas Welsh, said to say hi, who was
thank
sitting
you.
at my table. Yes, I have not, the statement of uses and standards has not been amended at this point. What was submitted to you was initially, actually back in August, a concept plan to change and address the concerns expressed at the first public hearing. We had requested the possibility of a work session with staff. That wasn't possible. So we have still submitted that concept plan. And in addition to that, Rose Tiso, Pat Rose, who was here to present, he has submitted a architectural and elevations that go with those changes. We are still keeping the 43 apartments, but there's been changes to increase the parking. In addition to that, as part of the packet that was submitted recently, is a section showing you the relative height of the building as compared to the Sunwood condominiums. And Pat Rose can also comment on the relative height of the building that we're proposing as it relates to the property across the street that was recently approved by your commission. The parking chart that we submitted, what I did in that, and Pat will be able to put it up on the screen. I'm not in a position to screen share at this point, but he will be able to, is I took your zoning regulations. If these apartments were a permitted use in your current zoning parking regulations, and computed the 1-bedroom, the studios, and the visitor requirement. And as you'll see from the chart that you should have received, under your current zoning regulations, if this were a permitted use, 83 was acquired, and I think 83.75 were required, and rounding to 84, and we're providing 83 under the PDD. So with that, I will turn it over to Pat, who hopefully is on, and Pat can screen share with both the concept plan and the other submission. I do want to comment that the traffic report was a traffic report submitted by SLR Dave Sullivan, who has addressed traffic on these sites, and Old Bridgeport Avenue, 301 Old Bridgeport Avenue, and across the street, and in a prior example. So he's very familiar with the traffic issues. With that, I'll turn it over to Pat, so Pat can screen share and present the concept plan and what was presented to you, the elevations.
This is Pat Rose from Rose Tiso and Company, 35 Brentwood Avenue in Fairfield. Alexandra, would I be able to screen share? Just to make sure.
You should have access.
Sounds sunny where he is.
Are you finding the screen share, Mr. Rose?
Yep, I've got it, and I'll put it up. Okay. Everybody see the screen at this point?
Yes.
Okay. What you have before you is the original SP1 that was presented at the beginning of the public hearing for the 43 units in the 2.5-story building and 66 parking spaces, I believe it was, or 67 parking spaces.
Yep.
So I just wanted you to see that, understand that, and I'm going to go to our alternate plan that we presented or provided. And what we've done is essentially cut off a portion of this wing here and added more parking to this parking lot. And what we do is we take a floor and we make it a 3.5-story building as opposed to a 2.5-story building, which is similar actually to the Brookview Phase 2 is a 3.5-story building that was approved across the street. In adding parking, we've got 53 parking spaces in this lot and 30 parking spaces in this lot, and 6 of those are tandem spaces, which, tandem spaces, may be very conducive in a building that has numerous 1-bedrooms. And also we've seen that it has been used over at the Vista and over at Cedar Village. We've used tandem spaces successfully. The building breakdown of units is 21 studios and 22 1-bedrooms. So the way it functions is similar to the previous proposal that we're coming in at the lower level here. And there's a stairway at the lower level here exiting. And then at the second floor, which is actually the first floor here, is an entrance into that lobby section. And then another stair exits here and out. So the building functions the same, similar to what it was, but it's 3.5 stories tall.
How do you get a half story?
Did you hear Commissioner Motto?
I did not,
How do you get a half story?
Put your mic on.
because the
Is that-
the building on this side of the building is a 4-story building. There's a change in grade across here and across here, and this is a 3-story building on this end.
Mhm.
So it's a 3.5-story building. You're buried into the grade on the first floor. And I'll show you the first floor plan. These spaces here become gymnasium, fitness space, storage space, and then electrical and sprinkler room. So they are buried with a retaining wall along this side. Main entrance is here, elevator, and then there are studios and 1 bedroom along this edge, and then studios and a 1 bedroom down at the end here. The first floor, which comes in at the higher grade here, brings you into the same lobby space with the elevator. And then you've got corridor on this L on either side, where you've got 1 bedrooms at the end, studios, 1 bedroom, studios on this side, and then a 1 bedroom in the studio that are opposite or on top of the main entrance. Second and third floors are virtually identical to the first floor, except that this unit is larger because there's no extra entrance exit out here. So this is a larger unit, and you still have 1 bedrooms and studios. What I wanted to show you, which I thought, because we were going to a 3.5-story building, I thought it was important to show you heights of what the building is going to be as compared to what we were proposing previously. So what we've done is we've developed the 3.5-story building such that we've created this 4-story building, 3.5-story building, in the same envelope that we had the 2.5-story building. Because what we did is we said, we're not going to have a full gable roof across that 65-foot building. We're going to put a mansard roof around it. Now with a flat space in the middle, we're going to put the condensers and any other things, solar panels, whatever, and be able to reduce the height, keep that within the height of the original proposal. So what we've done is we've got the 4-story section here, which is opposite the lower parking lot. And then this is the exit. This is what you see on Sunwood Drive. Sunwood Drive comes along here. And this is the higher parking lot over here where you enter at the first floor. This right side elevation is from the lower parking lot looking towards the building. And then this is the same elevations that we had for the original proposal. Building's longer, we've cut it back, and we've raised it a story, but that story is fitting within this space. So it's not getting taller, it's actually a little shorter, slightly shorter, very slightly. So these being the elevation at the rear of the property, going up here, it's changing from 4 to 3 stories. And this is the elevation from the upper parking lot, looking towards the building, where you had that entrance onto the first floor from the parking lot. These are the elevations that are same, but for the 2.5-story building, from the rear and from the higher parking lot. So that extra story is fitting in here. Just to
Did
give
I
you
hear
some-
you say 2.5-story? It's 3.5 story.
This is a 2.5-story building. It's 2 stories over here. 3
That's the
stories
old
over here.
one.
That's the old one, 2.5-story
Oh,
building.
okay. Mhm.
This one's a 3.5-story building because it's 3 stories on this side, 4 stories on this side. So that's where the grade changes.
Mhm.
Just to give you a couple numbers on the heights, is that the previous building was 46'4" high to the ridge, which was elevation 256.83. The height of the proposed 3.5-story building is 46'2", 2 inches shorter, and that's a 3.5-story building. And the mansard elevation is at 256.66. So they're virtually the same elevation. Just as a comparison, the approved Brookview 2 project had a building to the ridge of 53 foot 3 inches, 7 feet taller. And the elevation up at that elevation was 263, I think it was.
Mr. Rose,
So it's much taller.
Mr. Rose, Commissioner
Yes.
Kelly, on PP 1-1.
Yep, that's where we're going.
Actually, it looks like the building, the proposed building is kind of like in a hole. And the people at Sunwood are higher than this building. So they, they're not being obstructed by anything.
That's correct. What this PP1 drawing shows the relationship in elevation between the proposed 3.5-story building and the adjacent Sunwood building. And it's interesting that the top floor of the 3.5-story building is at elevation 242, and the first floor of the Sunwood building is at about at elevation 244, 245, somewhere in there, based on the grading that around the building. So we're substantially higher. Sunwood is substantially higher than we are, and wouldn't see a lot of the building based on where they are.
But more than you saw before, right?
No, they'd be seeing a roof.
Well, yeah, but what are you looking at the top of a mansard? What happens in the core?
In the core of this mansard roof, there are going to be condensing units up against the edge of the mansard, and a flat single ply roof or solar panels. One of the two you'll see, and in the center section that's flat.
And you think that design of that roof is as attractive as the original design roof?
I think the building itself is a better building because it's more proportionate. I think that exceptionally large roof was going to dominate the building. And I think this breaks it down to a much smaller scale than that building.
Does this roof line make it more or less conducive to putting solar panels on it?
This roof line makes it more conducive because we'll have a flat section. If we have a slope section, there's at least half of the roof. You wouldn't be able to put panels. That could be the wrong orientation.
It's just in proportion to the elevation, the roof looks very skinny across the top.
It's this roof is about 6.5, 7 feet tall. To the mansard itself, there are sections that are taller than that, where the gables intersect the mansard.
Doesn't bother me.
I think it's a good proportion.
What else do you have for us, Mr. Rose?
That is pretty much it as far as the presentation for the revised drawings that we wanted to present of the change to the building and the parking.
I think there was a little concern expressed previously as to the number of apartments and density. Does anybody address that?
Well, the density that we have, this is Attorney Thomas again, the density that we have in this fits with the densities that have been approved, by this commission. And our point was to make sure we could fit the density with the parking. And we are able to do that and really to provide, as your regulation provides, the appropriate number of visitor spaces. In addition to that, obviously we realize based on the prior public hearing and the prior approval and the engineer's report that the client is going to have to also, density helps, spend a substantial sum of money along with the approved across the street to improve Sunwood per the engineer's report.
Just as a point about density, Pat Rose, just a point about density, Tony, I did go back and do the calculation, taking out Sunwood that you had requested. And that takes out 0.33 acres of Sunwood, so it's 1.58 acres when you remove the drive road. So that with the 43 units comes out to 27.2 units per acre, which is, you know, similar to the clock tower and similar to Beardsall Mills. Those were 29 and 28.
How close is it to Brookview 1 and 2?
Brookview, give me a second.
Mhm.
Brookview Phase 2 was 16. Brookview Phase 1 was 22.
With substantially, they both, one of them had a lot more, a little bit more unbuildable land.
Yeah, but yeah,
They figured
phase
into-
phase two had a lot of wetlands. But I mean, they also were all 1-bedroom units, not half of them being studios either.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
plan for managing those tandem parking spaces, how would they be used?
Could we go back to that the revised upper parking lot?
Before we do that, Commissioner Amato had a question as to how would the tandem spaces be managed?
That's in the same area, right?
Yes, it is, right here.
Pat, the other plan had grading on it. That's what I would really like to look at.
All right, but can we answer the question for Commissioner Amato?
Mhm.
How would the tandem spaces be managed?
Tandem spaces will be given out first come, first served basis. People who have 2 cars, it's a perfect opportunity for them.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Panico.
I wanted to see that same view, but on the revised plan.
Yeah, understand, Tony. Be aware.
I'd like to have you just explain to the commission the grading relationships in that closest corner to the Sunwood line.
There's a retaining wall right here at the back of these parking spaces that comes around the corner. The wall is about 6 feet high here. And you're at 220 and about 8 feet high as it goes across. And I believe it's hard to see here, but you know, there's this is not through this actually through the driveway, but when you get towards the parking lot, that flattens out a little bit. That section's through here. If it was here, it was through the retaining wall.
The hand is, but no, there's no pointer, like red.
No, it doesn't
pointer,
go out at you.
You don't have
But
that.
that parking lot is tucked into the hill. Yes, it's tucked into the hill.
Just get the impression we're trying to cram an awful lot on the site.
Do you have a response to that, Mr. Rose?
Well, it's Attorney Thomas. It fits. It fits with the parking and it fits with the apartments, and it's related to other density that it's turned out good. I mean, if you look at some of the density,
That's arithmetic, you know.
well, but if you look at
What's comfortable on the site? I mean, if you go across the other side of Sunwood, the other building, it may be comparable in density, et cetera, but it's occupying a site with much more open space and green space around it. We don't have it on this site.
Mm-hmm. You have any comment about that?
I don't know if you can, no matter what you do, even if you reduce the number of units, I don't think you're going to increase green space. I mean, this commission has usually been very adamant about parking, and even if you reduce the units, which again, you're talking about a situation where one of the conditions is going to be making improvements to Sunwood Drive. yeah, public improvements is required by the city engineer. And I think in this case, the choice has been to go, as Mr. Rose said, with more studios. And I think you just can't get around the fact that it fits. I mean, when you look at
Well,
the
it
Fox
fits
Ridge,
with it fits with tandem spaces, which the commission doesn't recognize in its regulations.
but the tandem spaces have worked in other, we're not talking about in their regular, in this type of residential situation, tandem spaces are used all over the place. They are very effective at adding additional parking, especially if for those people that do have two, they're assigned the tandem spaces. If the two people don't coordinate their schedules, and somebody's going to get mad at the other one, but it's their problem. It's not the problem of anybody else, and it does provide adequate parking, and it's used substantially in these type of apartments.
Is every space going to be assigned?
The tandem spaces would be assigned to a unit. They wouldn't be different units. So in other words, if a unit came in and they had two cars and they wanted to have the tandem spaces, they could get it. For that unit, they would get assigned the tandem spaces.
Yeah, until the person who doesn't want to block in their other space parks in one of the other available spaces.
Well, anybody can violate the requirements and get themselves in trouble. That's something we can't.
How do you monitor that though, Dom?
Well, the first time that they do park in the different space and they're identified as parking in the different space, and they have to go down to A1 Auto and pay the storage fee for their car, which was towed, they'll probably change their mind.
That's if the spaces are assigned, but if it's open parking, how do you control that?
No, it's not. Tandem wouldn't be.
Well, I just asked a question. Are all the other spaces assigned as well?
All the other spaces would be assigned on a one basis. So there would be, the 40 someone youth, there would be whatever I don't have the thing in front of me. I think there are 6 tandem spaces, if I'm not mistaken. Those 6 tandem spaces would be assigned to units that had 2 cars and
I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand
probably
what you're saying.
Right.
But
The other spaces, there would be other spaces assigned. So if you take out 6 units from 43, you're down to 37. So there would be 37 assigned spaces, and the rest would not be assigned. They would be other spaces. The park,
so
as
there
are
are other vacant spaces to which one of those tandem space owners could use.
For free spaces.
Yeah.
Anybody can use them.
Yeah, they're free spaces. They could,
So if somebody doesn't want to pay for the tandem.
What I'm saying is if somebody has the 2 spaces and their partner is parked in the space, and then they come home and they say, oh, I can't block my partner in, I'll take one of these other spaces.
And they get on the phone and they call their partner and say, come down and move your car.
they can take one of the free spaces. Yes, they can. They can't take one of the reserve spaces.
No.
Yeah, they can't take one of the reserve. Yes, theoretically they could do that. But again, I just ask the commission to please, not in the downtown area, but in the other projects, go around, ask whether or not there are any parking issues. There aren't. Whether it's the Mark, whether it's Hawks Ridge Apartments, whether it's Vistas, whether it's, you can take a poll, you won't find, I deal with a lot of the property owners and everything, and there are no parking issues.
Because we require enough parking, I guess, huh?
You do, yeah. And the parking at 1 point something has been adequate, 1 point something to 2. And that's what we're basically looking at here. But this one here, you have to keep in mind, is this has a substantial number of studios. This has a substantial number of studios as opposed to those that have a lot of 1 bedrooms. And even those with 1 and 2 bedrooms that you have.
Right here.
6, so 12. 12
Yeah.
out of the 80.
6 doubles are over here in this corner. So one of the things that we didn't talk about is affordable housing. Is there any intent to provide affordable housing on this property?
I think I leave that up to the applicant himself. I know that the commission's request is normally 10%, which in this case would be, I believe, 5 units, correct? Did you round up?
Mhm.
Well, I leave that up as, I don't know if Ben Perry is on.
He's here, present in the auditorium.
Oh,
Okay.
Getting back to having to do with adjustments in the building, has there been any discussion as to reducing the footprint somehow? And that would provide lesser apartments and lesser paved parking and more green space?
We have reduced the footprint of the building,
But it
taken
went
off
up.
a whole.
Yeah,
taken
but it
off
went up.
the entire piece right here.
Right.
And we have moved our parking lot away from this corner, in its new design.
That's a plus.
So we have done those things.
Right, I'm just asking because Mr. Panico had brought something up about more, you're limited on this particular piece of property for green space.
Well,
Mr. Perry, if you want to come up to the table, you can.
I'm sorry.
Just identify yourself for the record.
Ben Perry, S&G of Shelton.
Okay.
I'm confused with the paid parking.
Yeah. we don't-
I'm not understanding what
It's not
the paid
gonna be
parking
paid,
is, to be honest with you.
right?
Do you give two parking places to people if they
Yes,
request it?
the
without
six
a
would be
charge?
designated for certain one-bedroom units.
With no extra charge?
No, with no extra charge.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm sorry, I just got a little confused over that whole part right there.
Well, we have complexes that charge for parking.
Oh, no,
For one
no,
unit, so.
no, I'm
You
sorry.
get one free and then anything else over that is
No.
pay.
Well, or they charge for the one free too.
And that's the reason for the roofing too, if I may address.
Mhm.
With the flat roof, it will be set up for solar panels. We're in talks with Alex from Planning and Zoning. There would be, I believe, 10 units that would be designated for EVs, which would be, it'd be staggered, some on the bottom, some on the top. They would be set up for that though.
10 EV spots?
Yeah.
Electric vehicle charging things
In
That's
the
a-
apartments.
That's a lot,
Right.
that's a lot of spaces.
outside?
He said it's coming up with, they're gonna start requiring it shortly, so. They
Well,
would be
I
set
did-
up for it. They
I
would be
did
set
hear
up
that
for
as
it.
well, but that's eliminating because people can't park there unless they're charging.
Well, it's a staggered move, he had said.
Like they charge
It's coming.
overnight, so they're
Yeah.
gonna be parked there.
What's staggered? What do you mean staggered?
Yeah.
With Alex, I'll get clarification on that, what we had gone through on that, but. For Alex Rosetti.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, but I just don't know how.
How's
that
it gonna be
word
managed?
applies.
But to clarify your point, excuse me, Commissioner Raphael.
Sure.
Your point is it's gonna be set up for EV. It's not like.
Correct, yeah, it's gonna be set
Putting
up for
EV
Yeah,
stations
it's not
on
gonna be-
it.
yeah,
So it'll be available when necessary.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Rose? Attorney
No.
Thomas?
We're fine.
No.
Anybody else on the team? No, okay. All right, then, seeing that this is public hearing, let's move on to the public portion. Is there anybody that signed up? I don't believe so. There's nobody in the auditorium that would like to sign up. Is there anybody online?
No.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Castro. Nobody on the phone either?
No.
Okay, just make sure we have it on the record that we asked. All right, so seeing that there are no further questions and as new material was submitted yesterday, I'd like a motion to continue the public hearing.
Why?
Staff has not had a chance to review the new material that came in, the
Oh.
traffic study and all that.
Goodness, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will point out, and this is, we understand there were certain issues. But our hope when we initially submitted this concept plan, which is up right now, was to be able to meet with your staff sometime through the month of September to go over some of the proposed changes. That was unable to be done. So that's why you have a concept plan. I mean, if we were hoping to get, we have gotten some feedback from the commission on it. So possibly we can, some of the plans and some of the things, including any grading or anything, we can submit to your staff for their review also.
Mhm.
I had one
And
question.
also, excuse me, and also landscaping, because I think the impression is that there is no green, and I don't think that is, if Pat can correct me if I'm wrong, that is not the case. I think the revised plan does potentially increase the amount of green that can be shown on the site. And we will be glad to submit that. Am I correct, Pat?
That's correct. We will do full grading and landscaping plans to finalize the site plan.
Okay.
Tony, you had a question?
I was wondering if any thought was given to either moving this building that you're proposing to build or backing towards the original building, and just on the easterly end, let the building come up over those half a dozen spaces that are there. It would cost you a couple of units, but it might loosen up your site planning.
And give you covered parking. That you can charge extra for.
Commissioner Parkins just asked, would that allow for covered parking by doing it that way?
Well, you'd be creating some covered parking, yes, and what Tony's suggesting, yes. It makes it a little more difficult for constructability, but it's a little more money.
It works both ways. It gives you a couple of units less, which is a few parking spaces less, but it gives you more site elbow room, so to speak.
Right.
I don't know if there's any merit. I mean, these are the kind of things we would have talked about at a work session.
I wish we had it.
It just, unfortunately, it never came off, so.
You know.
Did you have any other thoughts, Mr. Panico?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any other thoughts that you want to throw out at this time?
No, not really. I really don't care for the upper end of the site and the way it's pushed into that slope along the condominium boundary line. And if we could, anything we can do to soften that would certainly be helpful.
All right, so shifting the building away from Sunwood condo property line?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Which direction you're talking about? You were saying.
Well,
like,
I'm
here
talking
for
about
something-
shifting the building to the right as you look at the drawing, so that it slides over and above those six or eight space, half a dozen spaces at that end. It means you'd be moving the building probably 20 to 25 feet.
You're still gonna have a retaining wall.
Yeah, we're gonna shifting it this way.
Right.
And then.
And then you could loosen up this corner and you.
Topography.
Okay.
But not, let's make it clear, but not shifting the lower parking lot back down to where it was.
Oh, no.
No, you leave the lower parking lot. You'd bring the building's edge, to here.
Right.
And that would loosen this up and maybe even give you some more space between the building and parking, things like that.
And you'd be able to pull away from that slope.
Right. To some degree, you're going to be into that slope no matter what, Tony, because it's.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about it, Pat.
No
question about it.
Yeah.
But being 5-10 feet away from the slope or being 20 feet away from the slope.
Right.
It's a whole different feeling.
True. All right, any final comments, commissioners? Mr. Panico?
No, nothing else from me.
Okay.
I would just like to say, I very much rely on Tony Panico's judgment in terms of these issues and appreciate his input on that.
Yep, absolutely.
We can be working with staff to get something that.
Right.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That is why a work session, and I know
Yeah.
this just would be in between these public hearings, would sometimes be beneficial to get the input of the staff and be able to address these things. And not in fact use a public hearing as a work session.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What are those little numbers in the parking places? Are those the EV stations?
No.
What are they?
These little numbers here,
Yeah.
they're just counting up the number of spaces in each spot, each row.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very tiny.
That was a preliminary sketch, that's why.
Yeah, it's
Looking at
just
an screen.
Yeah.
my doodles.
Okay. All right, so then I had asked for a motion to continue the public hearing for this application 2214.
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Commissioner Laskos, I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Laskos. So on the motion to continue, made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Laskos. Go for a roll call, Commissioner Amato.
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins.
aye.
Commissioner Nafrio.
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, ladies and
Thanks.
gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so seeing there's no other agenda items, chair declares the meeting is adjourned as of 8:26 PM. Right here.
We're good, but it's,
It's not official till she gavels.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the 26th.
You